Hello YouTube, this time I'm going to show off my new TV I just acquired. This is an Amtel black and white TV model 0120, 12 inches in screen size. And I got this because I wanted another project to work on pretty much, and it's basically just a toy because this is another Chinesium cheap manufactured in China TV, and it really shows it on inside. I'll show you what it looks like and what it sounds like. Okay, I have my monitor hooked up to the VCR. I don't have the VCR as the RF modulator, so it looks okay. As you can see here, and I need to adjust the linearity here so you can see the mouse gets bigger when it's at the top. But I'll adjust that after I'm done working on it. But there is a small issue with this TV, though. Let me play something there. You might not hear it actually. I'll see if I can pick it up with the mic.
Oh, you must be exhausted after your long trip. Sit down. Let me look at you, Cousin Basil.
Yeah, that sound is extra crusty. I think the speaker's bad, so I'm gonna replace it with this. It's a little too small at the moment, but it's the only shielded speaker I have, and the speaker in this TV is bad. I mean, not just because it doesn't work, but I'll show you once I have this thing apart. So I'm gonna give you a look at the back of this TV, but first I'm gonna disconnect the coax. And I can give you a close-up of this TV here. I'm using this flashlight because I have the camera exposure set to a manual level. Mostly because CRTs have a refresh rate that can go out of sync with the camera's shutter speed, and you don't want that. Anyway, here's what we've already seen the front of this TV. It's got knobs, and this is one of the reasons I got it. This is a 12-inch TV with knobs, and it was manufactured in May of 1998. And that's kind of unusual because they stopped making these knob TVs really back in the 90s, like early 90s, 93. There's another YouTuber who showed this TV, and he mentioned that the U.S. Congress passed a law requiring closed captioning on TVs larger than 13 inches. And at that point, TV manufacturers decided just to make things less complicated and cheaper to handle. They just got rid of these older analog tuning devices when they switched over to adding closed captioning circuit, because they were adding basically a digital system in a way to an analog device, and they went ahead and made the tuner select channels digitally with buttons and remote controls. Remote controls were starting to take over too, so they just got rid of it. And the weird thing about this TV is, well, it's 12 inches, so it doesn't fall in that law, so they decided just to keep the knobs. And the PCB does appear to be of an older design because the audio IC is on a separate chip. Pretty much all the newer stuff, even this cheap portable TV I got over here, has a single IC for both audio and the video stuff. But this one doesn't. It has two, and I'm going to show you the schematic. Hopefully I have this in focus. This, I do believe, is the video chip. This one has a CD1366CP chip. This is the diagram for it. The pin of interest I'm going to look at here is pin 3. That's the video output. Basically how this works is it takes the IF, which is the radio frequencies it takes from the tuner. The TV tuner picks up the airwaves, converts it into IF, I guess, and then the chip processes this and outputs composite right here on pin 6. No, actually not pin 6. Correction, pin 3. That's the RF auto gain control output. The VF output here is labeled VF, but it's composite. It's at a higher level It's at higher voltage than normal actually, and it's grounded with a resistor. I don't know the value of, and I do know I have to attach my composite input at a line that's past a resistor, otherwise my image is too dark, and I see raster lines. But hopefully I can succeed in doing that. And if I know my here's the IC for the audio, CD1353CP. I'm hoping it's not a problem with something in the audio circuit. That's why the crusty sound. I think the speaker's bad. Because if I bring it on a really low volume, it sounds fine. It's clear. But as soon as I turn it up, it goes to crap. And maybe it's the speaker. I won't know until I attach this other one for sure. Otherwise, I'm probably going to have to be replacing some capacitors somewhere. Another thing, this came off the board in shipping, and well, I guess I'm lucky nothing else broke. This is just a plastic cover to an inductor, and I'm not sure what this hole was used for. Whatever part that was in it is long gone. There's another YouTube video. Let me see if I can bring it up. Okay, I'm just going to type it in. This is getting crazy. It comes up in search results real easy because this is a really strange brand name. There is only 3 videos in all of YouTube that shows this TV. 2 shows it working, 1 shows some 12-year-old breaking it. I'm not sure why he wanted to do that. It's such a waste. Even though it's cheap Chinese junk, if it still works, don't contribute to the e-waste and destroy something that works. Try and find someone who wants it. Anyway, look at that. There's the inductor. Let me make sure this is in focus. There's the inductor. There's something poking out here, and I'm not sure. There's nothing on the inductor coil itself that suggests anything was attached to it. There's no knob. See, there's an inductor back here that adjusts the noise in the audio, and that's an adjustable inductor. But this doesn't look like an adjustable inductor from the innards, and it doesn't look broken. There's no broken connections, so I'm not sure what's going on with that. Maybe it's just a harmless piece that broke off, and I don't really need it. I might glue it back on with hot glue just to make sure nothing gets in there and shorts it out. So I'm going to take this thing apart now, and we're going to see what it looks like on the inside. With this. Okay, recording again. So as you can see, you can just smell the Chinesium oozing off this thing. This thing kind of had a weird smell to it after I opened it up. Probably this weird goop they have on the end here. There's the adjustment rings that adjust on the black and white TVs. It adjusts the vertical and horizontal centering of the electron beam. And to a certain degree, you can adjust that with the horizontal hold control, but this sets the limits where the electron beam goes. So you always want to make sure you center that before you mess with this. Anyway, first thing I'm going to show is what I did to replace the PALS coax connector on here. I'm going to take it off here 1 second. As you can see here, it's got the standard connection they use for internal components here. It's sort of like an RCA jack. They have a cord connecting the VHF tuner assembly to this main assembly with the same type of connection here. And the original cord was way too damn long, and it didn't need to be much longer than the cord you just saw there. And yet they made it too long, so that kind of just decreases. It adds resistance to the line and just makes the signal quality. This cord is kind of too long too. I don't want to shorten that, but there is no analog stations anymore, so don't care. So here's the speaker, and as you can see, that magnet is not shielded, and that's sort of a bad idea because these CRTs are sensitive to magnetic fields. If this was a color TV, this would actually be a serious design flaw because it would just throw off the convergence on the shadow mask. This is a black and white though, so it's not a big deal. It doesn't really harm it. there's no metal shadow mask inside there to break or anything. If you had a neodymium magnet strong enough, you could actually permanently warp a shadow mask on a color CRT. If you use a degaussing coil that's too strong, or a magnet that's too strong that's too close, that could happen. But speaker magnets generally aren't. It's just a bad idea. A really bad idea to have unshielded magnets just exposed inside the television. I did not notice any geometry issues with this TV, so I'm surprised I'm not. Maybe I'll notice the change once I take this piece of crap speaker out. So I bet you there's a problem with that speaker. Anyway, here's the PCB. Let me pull it out a little bit here. Carefully. Might need to put the camera down for this, which is what I'll do. I always want to be gentle with this, because you never know what could break on these cheap things. Anyway, what I want to try and show off is where the main IC is for video output. There it is. See if I can get a good shot of it with all these cords in the way. Now the notch is on the bottom here from this shot. That tab is the grounding tab. That's what I'm going to use for the ground connection for my composite input. But I can't wire directly to the line going to that pin like I could with the portable TVs. I have to bypass a resistor somewhere here. I guess because that output is a little higher than normal. It's an older design. You can see, just like in that other video from whatever, it has radio in the name. I can never remember it. And as you can see, it's got these older style transistors in the little tin can coverings. And then there's that broken inductor I mentioned. See, the way this housing works is this little box goes right on top of that, but it probably popped off during shipping. But given these large heavy things can really just get battered in shipping, I'm pleasantly surprised that for the most part it survived. This little ring here, I added that little plastic guard. I took that out when I parted out this dead TV I had. I had tossed the TV long ago, but I kept the motherboard to it. I don't have it anywhere where I can show you, but it's just a really large motherboard. And I took capacitors off of it because as far as I can tell, the TV before it broke, it didn't have any issues with the capacitors. There was no screen distortion or anything like that. So I parted it out because it was useful, and that's where I got the coax connection from. So anyway, yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap into that composite output here, and I'm going to turn this into a really decent black and white monitor. Unlike the portables, there's actually some components on this neck board. Let me see if I can get them in shot. I think I see a few resistors. Not a whole lot going on there. Interestingly enough, this neck end actually appears to be the same size as the one on the 5-inch. I could theoretically just pop in the circuit board from those 5-inch portables. They'll probably fit. That flyback arm is probably too small to handle this size of a screen though, so probably not a good idea. Anyways, yeah, I'm going to pull that speaker out. I'm going to tap into that composite, and we're going to see how it ends up looking after that, because these old RF tuners, especially this one, I mean, it has decent video quality, but RF is like the lowest. If there's a scale on quality inputs on TVs, RF is like at the bottom. Composite is better, and then there's this video, which is even better because it keeps the color signal separate from the sync and chroma color signals. And then there's component, which my other TV has. This flat screen over here that I got recently for like $10. It has component, kind of useless though because it only does 480i, not 480p. It's a flat CRT though, so it's really terrible for retro stuff because of the screen distortion on the edges. But whatever. Where was I going with this? Basically, yeah, there's component. Then after that, there wasn't really Windows VGA, I guess, but that's used on computer monitors. So I'm going to go ahead and start working on this. I would show you, but I don't have a mount for the camera, and soldering, I'm really conservative with my soldering, and I don't want to have any distractions. All right, back, and it was a success, a super success. Let me get my camera. Show you what I did. They actually had a proper jack mount for it. After I took a closer look, I followed a trace to it. That oval shape I showed you earlier in a previous clip before the cutover. The bottom connection is the positive. The middle connection was ground. The trace led back to ground. So I went ahead and used that as my ground. And it's kind of hard to see, but I kind of repurposed case jacks, those little connectors on the inside of computer cases for LEDs and switches and crap. I took the pins off my dead motherboard and just soldered them into this board, so everything's removable. The red wire is the this cuts off the connection to pin 3 to the video output of the chip, so I can turn off the video from the tuner. I have not done the same with audio. I probably won't even bother touching audio. On the subject of audio, it was the speaker. The speaker was bad. That is the first time I've ever come across a bad speaker. So good news is the audio circuit's completely fine. So I have ground connected with some alligator clips as a test because I wanted to make sure that it worked before I soldered everything. So I'm gonna go ahead and connect the VCR directly to the composite here and show you how decent the quality is. I'm gonna make some adjustments. Seems pretty stable and it's very clear. Of course, you see the raster lines if I set the contrast too high. Let me up the black levels here. Black levels, I may need a resistor. I've heard the black levels can be an issue if you don't have resistance in the line here, but I'm going to go ahead and consider this a success. Let me bring up, I'm using Media Player for this. Let's see if I can bring up a video. Actually, I got a better idea. Let's bring that over. Where's my mouse? Where is my mouse? I'm not looking directly at the computer screen here. Here we go. Actually, now that I think about it, and I may need to adjust my NVIDIA settings. I have the contrast modified. If I go back into NVIDIA here and fix that, use standard settings. Fine. That should be better. Okay, I'm back. Actually, I don't think I need it. I think it's the auto gain control that's taking over the brightness levels. And when I briefly toggled the tuner output, the screen remained bright. That might be something I have to fight with this TV. It's got a simpler circuit. Where is my camera? There we go. But it is holding that screen. It's decently bright now. The video circuit on this TV isn't that bad. So there you go. Successful composite input for the most part. It's going to be a little finicky because of the type of circuit this thing uses. I think this composite input was meant for testing equipment. That's probably what the factory did. That's probably why it's there on the board in the first place. And I imagine it'll be a little more difficult to work with on color televisions of this era. I'm not sure. If I ever get a hold of, I've been looking to get a hold of one. It'd be interesting to try and add the composite input to that. But for the most part, it seems stable. I think the ripple was probably the speaker because I'm not noticing it now. So it looks to be good. If the black levels are get a little too dark, I just have to give it a shot of the tuner output, and then the auto gain control sort of just bumps up after that. I think properly you'd have to also separate ground from the video input, but I think it shares the ground line internally with the chip, so I don't think you can. Maybe I have to disconnect the auto gain control pin, but I'm not doing anything else to this TV. I don't want to break something constantly fiddling, so I'm going to go ahead and start adjusting the screen geometry, position of the screen and whatnot. It doesn't look like I need that resistor at all, so there you go. Successful composite input on a 12-inch black and white Chinesium TV. Alright, back just a quick show that the speaker works. Pulled out the old one. As you can see, unshielded magnet and all. Alright, play this. Got recalibrated the TV. Everything seems to be perfect. I have it hooked up to RF right now because I'm going to wait until I'm waiting for a switch to come in the mail, and then once I solder that in, I might make use of the composite more. But turn this up. It's a bit of a vibration, high-pitched noises. That's just the loose flanges that hold the old speaker in. They're not what's holding this smaller one in. I'm using hot glue, but once I get a proper size screw, I'm gonna pull the small speaker out and put in a proper one. But now this will have to be. Either way, it sounds a ton better.
You wouldn't hit a lady with that.
Contrast isn't too bad. This is kind of what it looks like on RF for now, but there you go. This old Chinesium TV fixed up with composite. The audio problem went away after replacing the speaker, so it looks like there are no issues with this TV now.